All glories to Mother Atasha. All glories to the religion of love. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to our Supreme Lord. O Lord God, please help us live out these teachings and be an example of love in the world. Jai. Alright, we're picking up on the book Rebel. So just before, the Master calmed his fears, explained, "You are eternal, so there is no question of you ever ceasing to exist. What could cease to exist would be your false identification with the material body as yourself. It is the removing of illusion so the real may be revealed." "Ah, the real revealed," repeated another. "For me, the most important question has always been, who am I? I have searched every spiritual book, traveled to teachers, sat at the feet of the learned to listen, searching myself, for it is said, he who knows himself knows God. And never finding the real me, the eternal, authentic I of which you speak, so still I ask, who am I?" And the Master smiling said, "Who is asking?" And the man was confused, and so that all might be made clear, the Master told this tale. One night, the fool, coming home, found his whole house in darkness. No light would work. Then, in the dark, he dropped his key. What to do? Glancing out the window, he saw the street light was on and shining brightly. "Aha," said the fool, "it is too dark in here to see anything, so I will never find my key. I'll go outside, for under the street light I will be able to see." And so he did. There, in the light of the lamp, the fool was looking for his key, when along came a friend. "What are you doing?" asked the friend. The fool then explained that he had lost his key and was searching for it. "I'll gladly help," said the friend, and joined the fool in his search for the key under the street lamp. After they had searched for some time, the friend asked the fool, "Exactly where did you lose the key?" It was then that the fool explained, "Oh, I dropped it in my house, but it was too dark in there to see, so I came outside, where there is light, to try to find it." Hearing this, the friend asked, "Why do you search outside for that which can only be found inside?" And the man who had asked, "Who am I?" and was searching for himself, burst into laughter, and laughed and laughed and laughed, and speaking between laughing said, "Oh, Holy Mother, I thought your stories were always about others, but now I see your stories are not only for us, but about us. I am the fool searching outside for what is already inside." And he doubled up and shook with laughter. "In this time," said the Master, "many will come bringing spiritual gifts, that all might receive according to need. But no book, teacher, nor teaching can give you the experience of yourself enlightened that you seek. They can give you disciplines to practice, but the practices won't make you enlightened, for you are already and always enlightened. The practices are only used to remove that which clouds your consciousness and blocks you from experiencing yourself enlightened. And," the Master added on, "only if you use them." "It is a common experience," commented a doctor who was visiting, "that often I will diagnose the disease of a patient and prescribe the medicine which I know will cure it, and that after some time the patient will come back complaining that he is not cured, and when questioned will admit he never took the medicine." The Master then told of one who was invited to speak the sermon in the house of worship. And when the people were assembled, gave a beautiful talk, so that he was invited back to speak again. The next week the people came excited to hear what he would say. But when he spoke, he gave the exact same speech as he had the week before. And the people wondered at it, but still they had enjoyed the holy teaching, and so they invited him back. And again he gave the exact same talk. This was too much, and so he was asked if he only knew the one talk. "Oh no," he replied, "I know many more." "Well then," he was asked, "why not give a second one?" "Oh," he said, "I was just waiting for you all to do the first one." "So it is with religion," said the Master, "given over and over again, that hearing it again and again, we might one day actually do it." Okay. The real revealed. For me, the most important question has always been, who am I? And that is a very important question. Who am I? Who am I really? I know many of us, when we're young, we try to find ourselves or figure out who we are. I know myself, especially in high school, trying, somewhat of an identity crisis, trying to figure out who I am, where I fit in, who am I really? But beyond that, this is the great question. This is what we're all meant to ponder. Who is the real me? Not this body, not this mind and its collection of thoughts and memories, but who am I, the real I? As he says, the eternal, authentic I. Who am I? See, in material life, we attempt to improve the self we see. We're creating. But in the spiritual life, we be the self that is. It's an uncovering. This guy says, search every spiritual book, travel to teachers, sat at the feet of the learned to listen. For it is said, he who knows himself knows God. And this is interesting because spiritual realization, which we've said time and time again, which is the purpose of life, spiritual realization, becoming again the lover of God, actually has two parts: self-realization and God-realization. But the first part is self-realization, to realize who we actually are, not this body, but as eternal soul, and not just know about it or be aware of this knowledge, this teaching, but to actually experience that, to experience yourself as the eternal soul, not this body. Self-realization. That is akin to liberation from the material concept of life. But you first have to come to know who you are. Many people ask Mother Atasha, and ask myself too on the server, explain God to me. Who is God? Describe God. And it's difficult to speak on things that we can't really grasp until we first come to the understanding and realization of who we are, because God cannot be known, only loved. Only the servant will know the master. So become again first the eternal servant of God. Know your true self. Purify your heart and mind. Come to that. Then you can come to experience and love God. But first, yourself. And Mother Atasha, I can just picture her now. She's smiling. The guy's saying, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And she says, who is asking? She's got a great sense of humor. And the man, confused, asks, and she tells the story of the fool who's looking for his key. It sounds silly, right? He drops his key inside the house, but it's so dark, so he goes outside where there's light to try and find what he's looking for, his key. But that's impossible because the key's not there. It's not outside on the lamp. The key's inside the house. But he's going to where he can see. So just like this man, he's traveling to many places, going to many teachers, looking at many books, all these things that he can experience and see with his material senses. He can perceive directly with his mind. But that's not where he's going to find the experience of himself that he's actually searching for. Because it's not outside, it's inside. Spiritual life is an internal process. Yeah, you see us externally, we do things. Yeah, we're giving class, we're preaching, we're walking around chanting the holy names. We're doing things, obviously, but it's our consciousness, the desire of our heart, our intentions, the process that's happening inside of us. That is religion. The process and practices by which we come again to God. And it's an internal thing. It's internal. People say, oh, I can't do this. My family won't let me, or my society won't agree with me. What do they have to know what's going on inside your heart? They can't hear your innermost thoughts and desires. They can't perceive your true intentions and whom it is you're serving and longing for. Spiritual life is internal. And to find our true self, we have to go inside ourselves. Why do you search outside for that which can only be found inside? So, waking up, enlightenment, spiritualization is like coming out of a bad dream. You ever had a nightmare? No, we all have. And you wake up, you're like, oh God, thank goodness, that was just a dream. And now you're awake and in the real world, right? Well, that's actually kind of what spiritualization actually is, or self-realization, is you wake up from the bad dream, the illusion, the false conception that you are this body, and the endless, repetitive cycle of trying to enjoy and squeeze pleasure from things outside of us, and other people, and other places, in amassing wealth, in acquiring knowledge, education, prestige. But all the things we want because we think they'll bring us happiness. And when we wake up from that illusion that we've just been chewing the chewed, trying to enjoy the same things over and over again, and waking up to our real purpose in life, our real goal and objective, and constitutional position, which is of eternal loving service to the Lord. Oh, it's like waking up from that bad dream, because now you're no longer chewing the chewed and just getting scraps of happiness. Now you start experiencing actual happiness, actual lasting peace and bliss, which only comes from inside. It's not dependent on anything outside, completely inside. That's that inner peace, right? And people think that spiritual life begins with God and the spiritual world, but it begins with you. And through God-given circumstances, we can see ourselves. And these circumstances, what are they? Things that test us, things that try us, situations, circumstances that may be difficult, obstacles to overcome, challenges, etc. But the devotee is different and looks inside himself, especially when things come up pain, angers, fears. I don't look outside to blame for the cause of how I'm feeling, but they look inside. If you're not brave to look inside yourself, you will blame others and circumstances and will try to make excuses. This takes bravery and a lack of laziness to look inside yourself. You cannot be clean if you are not willing to look. And when we do this process, it's a science, the science of self-realization. So when we do these things, it's devotional service, hearing, chanting, remembering, this process will gradually purify your heart and mind, clear away that covering, and there will be signs that will manifest. And the devotee comes to know himself. But you must be able to see to come clean. You have to see and look inside yourself what is already there, the dirt, the covering, the ignorance, to clean it away. And the man, he's laughing, loved that story. And he says, I see now that your story is not only for us, but about us. Wink, wink. In fact, all the stories in Scripture, they're actually our story. Like Rajak Khan, for example. Much of the Religion of Love book is told through his perspective. And he's a real man, yes. But just like how we experience the trials and the pastimes of many great saints and masters and messengers of God and other holy scriptures, and as we read what they experienced, the trials, the challenges they faced, the teachings that they practiced, etc., we're living in their shoes, but really their story is our story. See, Rajak is the everyman. Arjun is the everyman. The disciples of Jesus, they're the everyman. And how we're all struggling in this material world, trying to get free from suffering, to come to love, to come to God. So all these stories, they're all about us. And I know the fool is, quite a unintelligent character who's somewhat exaggerated to exemplify a particular point. But we're all the fool. We've all been looking outside ourselves for happiness, for peace, for purpose. We've all been seeking outside ourselves, yet never looking inside, where the real treasure, the real us, has always been. And the Master says, in this time many will come bringing spiritual gifts, that all might receive according to need. But no book, teacher, nor teaching can give you the experience of your self-enlightened that you seek. Give you the experience, because we don't just want to talk about things, we want to experience them ourselves. What's greater? To know about love, to believe in love, or to actually be in love? Madly, ecstatically in love. That's what we want. But books are not going to give us that experience. The teachers are not going to give us that experience. They're not just going to pat you on the head and poof, light just pours in. It's not, no. We're looking outside for that experience, but that experience is always inside, only inside. What the books, teachers, and teachings can give us are disciplines to practice, things that we can do to experience ourself enlightened, that we can come to God ourselves. And the practices, they won't make you enlightened. No, it's not like if I do this stuff, if I hear, chant, remember enough, I'm going to become enlightened. Well, actual understanding is you're not trying to achieve something that isn't already achieved or become something that you aren't already. You already are enlightened. Every single one of us is a pure, eternal, blissful, fully conscious and knowledgeable soul. Every single one of us is a saint. Yes, everyone. Even the criminals, even the baddies, even the trees, the animals, the birds, the bees, every living entity is a pure lover of God, a saint. Just unrealized, just covered over. And that covering, which keeps us from this, is our ignorance. The cloud of ignorance, our illusions. These are the things that cloud our consciousness and block our experience of ourselves enlightened. That's why the analogy of waking up from a bad dream is quite apt, because it's true. We already are there where we want to be. We're just covered like a gold buried in a mountain of dirt. Just got to remove the dirt and the gold will shine. Pretty simple, isn't it? But the thing is, to be successful in spiritual life, to actually uncover and experience ourselves enlightened, we must be disciplined. It takes great effort. For material success as well, we have to put a lot of hard work, a lot of energy to be successful, yeah? But we don't want the little success. No, we're more ambitious than that. We're going for the big goal. The big goal. And it's going to take great discipline, great effort. If you want the gold, you have to get your hands dirty. And if you want to be cleansed of all the dirt of ignorance within, you have to be brave and willing to look inside at your own self. The things that we don't want to give attention to, really, things we don't want to think about, the things that are dark and things that we deny that are actually hidden within. But if we don't do the work, we won't get that experience. We won't reach the goal. Mother Natasha said, spiritual life is for warriors, not for wussies. She said that, wusses. It's not for wusses. It's for warriors. You have to be brave to look inside yourself. It's easy to blame outside for how I'm feeling. It's easy to just revert to our habits of just thinking negatively of all the things outside of us as causes of our suffering, not realizing that all of our happiness and distresses are all due within our own mind. This man is a doctor, says, often I'll diagnose the disease of a patient and prescribe the medicine which I know will cure it, and after some time patient will come back complaining he's not cured, and when questioned admits he never took the medicine. I've seen this happen with Mother Natasha. I've seen individuals every year come back to speak with her with the same problem, the same issue. And again, the spiritual master, kind and patient, gives the same instruction, the same knowledge. And it's apparent that that person didn't actually apply the teachings they received. And if they did, they probably didn't give it really much effort, or maybe they attempted once and that was it. And still the problem's there, and they complain again. I need help with this. This happens quite often. And How often do we know what we're meant to do, but we're too lazy to do it? We know of these teachings, but we don't really put our whole heart into it. We don't really give it our full effort to really see what will happen if we really go all the way and really take on these teachings, these disciplines, these practices. Where will it lead? And here's a nice story of a man who was invited to speak a sermon in the house of worship. And the people loved the talk he gave. They invite him back, and then he gives the same talk. Can you imagine? 2 weekends in a row. And they're like, it's the exact same speech, huh? All right, and then he comes back again, and he gives the same speech again. And they're like, okay, this is getting a little repetitive here. He says, don't you know any other more talks that you can give? He says, oh, many more. Well, why didn't you give another one then? Oh, I was just waiting for you all to do the first one. Can you imagine if this is how actual preachers in a house of worship behaved? Oh, they might never get to a second lesson. My goodness, how few have the ears to hear to actually do the work, who are brave to get their hands dirty inside themselves, quit blaming outside for their problems, and look inside. Do the work. Hear, chant, remember, do the peace process. Remember the teachings, apply them. So it is with religion, given over and over again, that hearing it again and again, we might one day actually do it. This is religion. God is repeatedly giving us reminders. And when we lose sight of the heart of his message, he again sends his messenger unto the world to remind us. And every time a messenger of God is sent unto the earth, they give the same internal message, which is of love of God, of surrender, of service. But of course, it gets distorted over time, becomes political, becomes about economics. The women are kicked out, lots of things. It's not the same pure teaching as it was, and so God reminds again, sends another messenger, out of his great love and mercy, that God willing, maybe one day we might actually do it. We might actually hearken to those teachings, those instructions, and actually apply them. Repetition, saying something over and over to get something through, is successful if it's the correct repetition, the right thing. You repeat the right thing again and again, and one day it might just strike a chord, and you hear it. Unfortunately, a lot of what is preached in religion today is not the right thing. We're preached a lot of propaganda that's man-made, and we've kind of been lost and gone astray, and it's very difficult to become again a pure lover of God when you have so many misleaders in religion who are repeating not the pure thing God gave, but repeating their own philosophies and corrupt ideologies, things that aren't quite true. They're mistruths passed off as truths, and the innocent public is misled, and we hear it so many times. We've been so conditioned by religious organizations and misleaders in the name of religion that we've got quite wrong conception, honestly, of what spiritual life and religion actually is. But for those who are sincere, who meekly and humbly in their hearts seek God, seek to love, God will give the intelligence in man to understand what is what, and send unto them a good guide, who will tell them what is true, what is right. And they'll repeat it again and again and again, as many times as it takes, till we're able to do it. I've seen Mother Natasha in a great patience do the exact same thing. What love and mercy, eh? Anyways, let's stop there. Right. Does anyone have any questions, perchance related to the class?
Yeah, you said each of us are. Oh yeah, sorry. Did anyone else also ask a question? Okay.
Oh, the floor is yours, brother.
I was wondering. You said each and every one of us is enlightened to some extent, or just we're born enlightened but covered over. Are souls like Jesus, Muhammad, and the great saints, in the Gita, Hinduism, are they separate at a different level, or is it all the same?
The great saints, masters, messengers of God, who we honor and revere as, the greatest among us, they're not different than us. One person said unto Lord Buddha, "You are so amazing, you're so great, I could never be like you." And the Buddha says, "I am exactly like you. The difference is that I am awake." So those great messengers like Jesus, like Muhammad, they were awake. They were no longer covered over. Their consciousness, their original selves, wasn't blocked anymore. They were acting in their natural state as the eternal servitor of God, free from the contamination of material nature. And we are all of the same caliber, the same quality, as Muhammad, as Jesus, as Arjun, as so many great saints before. We are all children of the one God. We're all eternal servants of God. We're all originally from the spiritual world, where there is no illusion and contamination of lust and anger and greed and things like that on a material level. No. Or misidentification with some material form as our real self. No. When we're born in this life, we're covered over. In fact, we've been covered over since time immemorial. And that covering can get deeper and darker and denser. That's why you see some people that are very cruel, hard-hearted, downright evil even. That's because their covering over their consciousness is much, much heavier. They're far more covered over. And other people who are very kind, very loving, open-hearted, their covering's not as dense, for example. Their consciousness a little clearer. But still, even the cleanest and nicest person among us has still got so many layers of ignorance, of illusion covering. We all do. It's lifetimes and lifetimes of ignorance and attachments and illusion that we have to clear. But though it seems a little daunting, chanting the holy names, hearing, remembering, these are such powerful, potent practices. These are direct forms of devotional service that cleanse our heart and mind of all these misgivings, of all things not of love. We just have to do the work. And I know, speaking from my own experience, having been walking the path made straight and regularly, daily engaged in these practices, looking inside myself, doing the peace process, trying to live out the teachings, daily chanting, looking at myself today versus how I was, before all this, 18, 19 years ago. Oh my gosh, how I've changed so much. It changed a lot. Getting lighter, getting lighter, getting lighter. Just trimming off all the excess baggage, the things we don't need to hold on to anymore. the things that we cling to, thinking that these are part of us, thinking that, these are us, eventually get cleansed away little by little. We just gotta do the work. It's just a grind. Spiritual life, like anything in material world, is a grind. You just have to work at it, work at it, work at it. But what you're working on is yourself. And the result of all this hard work and discipline is yourself, your real self. And no joy, no happiness in this material world can come close to the experience of yourself enlightened, the experience of yourself waking up from that bad dream. And the ever-increasing exponential bliss and love that we relish in the Lord's service. Oh my gosh, spiritual life is actually quite wonderful. It's so much more enjoyable than material life. And the rewards are, they're internal, and no one can really perceive them. They have no idea. There could be a holy saint, fully awakened, fully enlightened, just riding the bus like anyone else, and you wouldn't really know. Because it's all inside. Of course, there may be signs manifest when you actually see that person act and speak, etc. For example, someone like Lord Buddha, like Jesus, like Muhammad, for example, how they act, how they spoke, wasn't like how everyone in worldly consciousness acted or spoke. They were on a different level, of course. They were on the spiritual platform. So yes, they were on a different level. They were on their real level. They were back in their natural state, which is love of God. That's the natural state of the spirit soul. So we're all of the same quality. We're all of the same nature, the same eternal ecstatic nature. Every single one of us. We just gotta do the work, and we'll experience it ourselves. Very simple. And Mother Atasha, she would say, so what's the problem? Where's the problem? Do it. Hope that answers your question, brother. Any other with a comment or question, perchance? And it could be related to spiritual life, of course. It doesn't have to be specific to the class if something else is on your mind that might be of help. All clear and ready to do it, to do the work? Sure, it will be hard work. Yes, it will be hard work. But so is clamoring endlessly for little glimpses of happiness in this world is also hard work.
Another question.
Oh yeah, what's up, brother?
Sorry. I was wondering, you've been chanting, pretty consistently for years, and you've been doing the work. So, what differences do you think you've seen that were like most impactful since you began?
Oh my gosh, lots of things. For one, before coming to spiritual life, I had a nervous laugh. Like, now my laugh is genuine, but I used to have this fake laugh that came compulsory when I was in social settings to try and be accepted, I guess. I don't know. It was a nervous laugh. And I think after a year of chanting, Mother Atasha, she says to me, like, Hassan, that weird laugh you have is gone. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize it. Oh, I guess it is. And that's one example. Another would be, I guess, my own suffering. That has changed a lot. I used to suffer quite a bit. I had depression. I had a lot of painful thoughts and memories. I was wrapped in guilt and shame, and I had a bunch of issues. Like we all do. I had a bunch of issues. Pass me a tissue. And the more I kept chanting, and also applying the peace process. So it's not just chanting. Mother Atasha so mercifully gave us those instructions, that tool, the peace process, to really surgically dismantle so much of our past pains and angers, more efficiently than just chanting alone. But yeah, a lot of things have been cleared away. Those feelings of depression, those feelings of shame, all these. Still the memories are there. And if I want to dwell on some painful things in the past, I'll be like, ugh, But it's not like they're bothering me in the day. It's not like I'll have these like just depressing days like I used to have, just be really down on myself. Having bad days, for example. Don't really get those anymore. No, not so much, no. And also things that used to bother me so much, things that would disturb me, little by little, their effect on me has waned and waned. So before, if I experienced something that was very troublesome, let's say like a relative pushing my buttons, I would get really heated up, and I would lash out, I'd get really angry. And little by little, the more I've been cleared and working on my own self, working on my anger, working on, my own ignorance, that when I'm in these experiences again, the same stuff, the buttons don't have the same effect anymore. And basically, I'm dismantling the buttons so they can no longer be pushed. And they just don't have the power to affect me anymore. And it's not like they've changed so much, it's that I've changed. If you want to have peace, you can't change things outside yourself expecting the result. You have to change inside if you really want to have peace. And it says in the books, Rajak says, the more I changed, the more myself I became. So naturally becoming more and more our real self. Some people have the idea to imitate other people, imitate other saintly persons, and that's not really wise. We follow in their footsteps, we follow their instructions. That's what we do. But we don't imitate them, try to be just like them, act, sit like they sat, eat the same diet, it's not, you can do that, it's fine, I guess, but the real point is, you want to be the real you. Like Yeti be the actual real Yeti. Meat be the real meat. Aaron be the real Aaron. Me, try and be the real me. Which is more beautiful, more brilliant than a billion suns. Oh my goodness, the real us. Every single one of us, so unique, so amazing. The real us. Underneath the facade. The material concept of the self. As I mentioned earlier in comments, that in material life we're always trying to improve the person we appear to be. We're trying to create our own self-image. Or people say, try to be the best version of myself. Right? That is illusory. We're just trying to improve upon or change or alter what we see in the mirror. What we perceive as the self, which is not the real us. Real self-improvement is self-realization, because the spiritual is about uncovering the real us. And another thing I've experienced years of chanting is misconceptions of the self. Yes. These bodily designations, thinking I am a man, or I'm American, or I'm this or that, those fade away. And honestly, I just see myself as a spirit soul, servant of God. If I have to, fill out a form or something, okay, I'm a U.S. citizen, okay, But I don't really, I don't really take ownership of any of that, because I know it's not me. And neither do I feel I have ownership of anything, honestly. That's another thing that's changed in me. As I used to think, oh, these are my headphones, this is my clothes, this is my computer, my, this concept of my and mine. That's also changed a lot. After years of chanting now, I don't think I own anything, honestly. As the teachings say, what do you own? For surely everything belongs to God. And verily, everything does belong to God. We just have a temporary use of it. I mean, gosh, everything is God's. All this material energies, the whole nature, this universe, all the material cosmos, they belong to God. Even these bodies, these elements, they're all God's. We're just using them. And the reason we have anything in our possession is by God's mercy. And so I've just been seeing that more and more and more and more. And, for sake of more efficient and effective conversation, I'll say, oh, can you hand me my phone? Right? Because I'm specifically saying the phone that I use a lot, right? But internally, that's not my phone. I could just say, oh, the phone with the red cover. I could just say that. It'd probably be better, but it's shorter to say, oh, my phone. But internally, I don't feel like I own any of that stuff. And also, with that understanding, that realization, I feel like everything should be used in the service of God, because it's all His. And I get great pleasure and happiness using everything that God has blessed me to be able to have facility of in loving service to Him and unto His servants and for the Religion of Love movement. So many things have been changing inside of me the more I've been chanting. And the happier I've become. You guys probably notice I laugh a lot. I have a cheery disposition, more or less, right? Well, it's not a show. I'm being real, actually. I'm not faking it. So that's another thing, is joy, happiness, peace. These are things that have also manifested more in my life through years of chanting. And also being so satisfied, so content. I'm not worried about, oh, what's going to happen tomorrow? Oh, I'm not going to have enough. Oh, I'm not worried about none of that. I'm very content with whatever we have by God's mercy and to use it in His service. So, basically just realizing the teachings more and more and just becoming more my natural self. Now, I know I still have a lot more work to do. Oh boy, do I. I still have. And I probably get down on myself a lot more than rightly should. And I know Mother Atasha would be on me. She wouldn't want me being, so hard on myself. So critical of myself. No, she would say, you're closer than you think. She said that to me once, actually. Which I dismissed, and I was like, you don't know the garbage in my head. Oh my gosh. But yeah, that's, and also seeing the world and seeing my activities and my circumstances all as God's arrangement, seeing things through the lens of knowledge from the scriptures. Yeah, it's my whole day-to-day has been greatly changed. My whole outlook, my perspective. Far more rooted in truth and in knowledge as received from the right repetitions. Hearing it again and again from the right sources, the pure devotees, spiritual masters, the inner teaching of the scriptures unadulterated. So yeah, lots of things will change. So you really got nothing to lose, honestly, guys. And to anybody watching this recording, if you listen this far, seriously, try chanting. There is nothing, and I mean this, really, there is nothing that anyone could possibly do that is greater than chanting the holy names. It is the best use of your time. It is the best thing to put your energy and attention towards, because the results you're going to get are eternal. If you work on your material self, your material image, trying to attain material things, everything will eventually be lost. But any time and energy you put for your spiritual life, that is never lost. Never. Never. It's not like, oh, I'm trying to build a house and I walked away for years and now, oh, I come back years later, oh, so now the boards are rotted, mice have moved in, it's gotten all dusty, things are falling over. No. Any spiritual practice you do and you walk away from, you come back to, you start exactly where you left off. It's never lost. It's the best return on investment you could possibly ever hope for. Life eternal and abundant. So, chanting the holy names, chant the holy names, chant the holy names. Give it a spin, everybody. My goodness. I'm telling you. You'll be so thankful that you did. But you got to really be disciplined with it. Not just try it one time, like, okay, I chanted a few times, okay, nothing happened, and you walk away. And it's a lot of people do. No. Have some faith that it's going to work. Use me as a spokesperson if you knew me from before, and all the bad habits I used to have, all the sadness I used to have in my mind, all the nervous tics I used to have, and how, definitely a lot more peaceful, loving, happy dude, and let me tell you. And that's all thanks to these teachings, this practice, being disciplined with it. It's just, literally just be stubborn. That's the only reason why I'm still here, and I'm experiencing now more and more the spiritual, more and more my real self, is because I'm just stubborn. That's it. I made a promise, I'm sticking to it. That's the reason why. I just was keeping my promise. I made a promise to chant this much every day, and I keep my promise. That's it. So make a goal for yourselves and stick to it. Chant a little bit, build on that, maintain it, build on that, maintain it. Get up to 2 hours a day one day eventually, but start where you are. And it'll be the beginning of the end, and the end meaning the end of your suffering. I'm rambling on about myself too much, but anyone else have a question or comment by chance? If you're wondering, do things still bother me? Yes, things still bother me. I'm not 100% immune, no, but it's way less than it used to be, and I'm definitely picturing it from a much wiser perspective than I was back then. And of course you might say, oh, I'm getting older, so of course, yeah, with age and experience comes a little more wisdom, sure, but it's more than that. It's spiritual life. You good, love?
Mm-hmm.
So where's the problem? Gosh, Mother Tasha would say that so matter-of-factly. She'd be like, so what's the problem? What's stopping you from doing this? And she would just stare you right in the eye. What's the problem? Nope. Y'all don't have any problems? Ready to go for it? Okay then. All glories to Mother Natasha. All glories to the religion of love. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to our Supreme Lord. Jai. Jai, Jai, Jai.